Welcome back to the world according to Briggs, where we deep dive into the fascinating world of geography, real estate, demographics, and other trends. Today we're unpacking the very interesting world of population growth across the grand old USA. It's a mixed bag out there, with some states booming like it's a gold rush, while others like someone just pulled the plug on the population bathtub. Now, let's get a couple things straight. The United States has been growing, but it's like watching paint dry, with an average growth between 0.5% and 0.7% per year over the last decade. And that's where the snooze-fest ends. The real action is happening at the state level, where it's all over the place. Take Nevada, for instance. This state has been on a tear, with its population shooting up like my losses on a roulette table with 36 spots to bet and a wheel that only has 33 numbers. Why is Nevada so popular, you ask? It's got the magic mix of a strong economy, a tourism industry that's buzzing like a beehive, and of course it's right next to California. So you can get the benefits of being near California without having to deal with all the garbage, like overpriced housing. Now it's not always just people moving in, it's babies. Birth rate plays a big part in states growing. Today we're looking at the fastest growing states in the US. Let's take a look. Number 10, South Carolina. South Carolina's been picking up steam in recent years. 5 years ago, it wasn't even on the list. You might find Charleston on the list, but the state overall just started gaining population at a good pace, let's say the last 5 years or so. The low country is where you're going to see a majority of the growth. That's the Atlantic side of the state with Charleston and Bluffton. This is where you'll find a lot of halfbacks, they call them. A lot of people will move down to Florida from, let's say, New Jersey or New York. They get down to Florida, they don't like it, and they start heading back north, and so they come to South Carolina, and they call those people halfbacks. So why is everyone moving to South Carolina? First of all, it's the cost of living. South Carolina is known for having a lower cost of living compared to many other states in the US. This includes affordable housing, lower taxes, and generally lower prices on goods and services. This makes it a more attractive option for individuals and families. The state enjoys mild climates year-round with warm summers and relatively mild winters. The climate is appealing for those who prefer to avoid the extreme temperatures like you'll get up in New York and New Jersey. Just kind of all pleasant. It gets a little humid, and then the occasional hurricane comes along, but for the most part, it's going to be better weather than you'll find in New York, New Jersey, and basically the northeast of the United States. I hate to tell you this, South Carolina, but I'm starting to see Californians are moving out there more than ever before. The other reason they really like to move out there is the natural beauty and recreational opportunities. South Carolina boasts a diverse landscape, including beaches, mountains, lakes, and forests. The state's natural beauty provides ample opportunities for things to do outdoors, hiking, boating, fishing, and a lot of golf in South Carolina. South Carolina also has one of the most scenic coastlines in the country. Go out to Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach. From 2013 to 2023, South Carolina grew by 9.45%, putting them at a population density of 175.19 people per square mile. Number 9, Arizona. Arizona is renowned for its warm, sunny climate. This is a snowbird location, and we've gone over snowbirds many times before. If you've never heard it, it's basically people that leave the colder states during the winter and go down to places like Florida, Arizona, Texas maybe. I read an article about snowbirds not too long ago, and the guy brought up the fact that in the 1950s and 60s, people went to Florida, a couple of locations there, and Palm Springs, California. Hardly anyone went to Arizona back then. The snowbird kind of thing really only popped up in Arizona around the late 1970s. I'm sure there were some, but not a bunch like they have now. Arizona boasts over 300 days of sunshine per year, which is really appealing for people that are into outdoor activities like golf, walking around, getting in a pool. It's also a very popular place to be drunk by noon, apparently. Another big reason for people going to Arizona is the natural beauty and, of course, the outdoor stuff. If you're new to the channel, I've made it very clear I'm not a desert person. Don't care for it at all, but I do realize places like New Mexico and Arizona are incredibly beautiful. And Arizona is absolutely beautiful. I mean, the Grand Canyon, Sedona. Arizona gives you plenty of places to hike, bike, camp, or just go park your van in the middle of the desert and live rent-free for a few months. That's something that's becoming increasingly more popular in Arizona. They have this thing called BLM land, Bureau of Land Management. You can go stay on this land. All you gotta do is buy a pass for the year. Just camp out in your van, your motorhome, whatever you got. Recently did a podcast with Alyssa Vanilla. That's what she does. She lives there throughout the winter, I think. But if the desert is your thing, Arizona's a great option. Now, another reason people say they're moving to Arizona is the economic opportunities. Arizona has a growing economy with a strong job market in sectors like technology, healthcare, and manufacturing. Cities like Phoenix and Tucson are experiencing a growth in tech and innovation. Big time tech going on in Tucson right now, which should be a really good thing for the area for the next 10 to 30 years. Once all that money starts flowing in because of tech, you start running into problems like real estate prices going through the roof, cost of living going through the roof. Remember, San Francisco wasn't always the way it is right now. On top of a good economy, they also have a really low cost of living in Arizona. It's well below the national average, making it an attractive place for these young professional tech people and retirees. Between 2013 and 2023, Arizona grew by 10.4%. They still have a lot of open land, so right now they only have 64.96 people per square mile. Number 8, Florida. Florida's been on the growing list since about the 1980s. This state has never had a down decade. They've never even had single-digit growth in a decade. Their absolute lowest growth rate was in 2020, and it was 14.6%. So if you're not picking up on it, Florida's been popular for quite some time. I mean, almost every single one of us knows a few people that have moved to Florida. I know a handful. I know 2 guys from high school. We're the same social group, I guess, because they weren't really friends. They lost touch after high school or whatever, hadn't seen each other in years. They were both sitting in a bar one time in Florida and realized that they had moved there around the same time and only lived a few blocks away from each other. Yeah, so people have been moving there for some time. Why do they move there? It's the sunshine. The weather in Florida is hard to beat. If you're a fan of warmth and sunshine, there's not many better options. Like South Carolina, the summers can get a little muggy and the occasional hurricane does show up, actually a little more in Florida than South Carolina, but they do appear occasionally. Most of the year, you could be soaking up all the vitamin D you want. Another big reason is the tax. There's no state income tax. Florida is one of the few states without a state income tax, which means more cash stays in your pocket. This is a big deal for both workers and retirees looking to stretch their dollar a little bit further. The lifestyle also plays a big part of moving to Florida. There's only a few states that lifestyle is mentioned when people are choosing to move to a place. California is being one of them. So just like California, lifestyle plays a big part, but in Florida, it's half price. Between 2013 and 2023, Florida grew by 12.39%. They also have a good amount of land, and they only have 416.96 people per square mile. Number 7, Washington State. When I first moved to the Pacific Northwest, there was some magazine at work and it said Washington, nature's playground. If you get outside of Seattle, you know exactly what they're talking about. If you're into the outdoors, Washington is like hitting the jackpot. From the lush evergreen forest and majestic mountains to the stunning coastline and everything in between. This is a paradise for hikers, bikers, climbers, and anyone else who loves to be outdoors and get rained on occasionally. Whether you want to go hike the Olympic Peninsula or hike the Cascade Range, they're both there for you. Now, Washington does have the same trappings of San Francisco. So they got Seattle, and Seattle's a big tech hub. And what San Francisco's going through, Seattle is going through at a little bit lesser of a pace. A lot of people are moving to Washington for the tech jobs. Washington is home to tech giants like Microsoft and Amazon, and 1,001 other little tech startups. Now, there's another thing about Washington. It's the culture. It's not as much the lifestyle, because their lifestyles vary drastically from one part of the state to the other. But there's like this culture thing in Washington that's really kind of attractive to a lot of people. Let's take the Native American culture first of all. That plays a big part in the entire state of Washington. After that, you have the music culture, which is also big, especially around the Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia area. And probably the biggest cultural thing in Washington would be the coffee culture. Starbucks started here, and people actually stand in line at the original Starbucks for an hour to get a cup of coffee. Now, it's just the touristy thing, but coffee is a real cultural thing in Washington, especially on the west side of the state. Now, is that why people come to the state? No, but it is an added little bonus. From 2013 to 2023, Washington grew by 12.41%. They're another state that has a lot of open space, and I don't think people realize how much, because they just think Tacoma, Seattle, and they think the whole place is packed. That metro area is packed, but the rest of the state is pretty wide open. They only have 120.37 people per square mile. Number 6, Colorado. Colorado is always grown. I mean, it's just been a thing. Since the 1960s, Colorado has been the place to be for like the counterculture types. From the hippies to the beatniks to the hipsters later on, and then back to the hippies. There's another little subculture of Colorado that most people really don't think about. It was big in the 1980s and stuff, but they were called ski bums, almost like beach bums or surf bums. They're people that just live to ski and be in the mountains, be in the snow, things like that. That's a very attractive lifestyle to a lot of people, and that's how a lot of families ended up there. They went for the skiing, they went for the camping, and they fell in love with the state. So what happened to John Denver, that old folk singer headed out there for vacation one time, fell in love with the state and couldn't quit writing songs about it. And that's why a majority of the people say they go there for the outdoors. If you're into any kind of outdoor activity, Colorado is like Disneyland to you. Hiking, skiing, mountain biking, you name it, you could do it in Colorado. The Rocky Mountains aren't just a backdrop for your Instagram selfies. They're a playground for adults and kids, of course. Imagine having world-class skiing resorts and some of the country's most scenic national parks just a stone's throw away from your doorstep. It's pretty cool. I love Colorado. They also have a pretty good economy right now. Denver and other parts of Colorado have been booming, especially in tech. Renewable energy is big there. But the lifestyle and the culture is a big part of Colorado too. It's just that blend of laid back and adventurous. The people here have a strong focus on health, wellness, and sustainability. Farm-to-table restaurants are everywhere, craft breweries, community events. And what I like about Colorado is cities like Boulder, Denver, and Fort Collins have their own personality. They're like totally different. Between 2013 and 2023, Colorado grew by 12.57%. And they still got a lot of open space. A lot of it is taken up by the Rocky Mountains, and you don't have big communities up there. And the eastern part is like open prairie with not any big cities. They only have 57.86 people per square mile in Colorado. Number 5, Nevada. There's a lot of reasons people move to Nevada. A lot of the people moving to Nevada are Californians. They've been priced out of California, so they head to Nevada. This is nothing new. This has been going on for decades. It's like they can't afford to get into California anymore, so they sit outside the fence like they're at a concert that was too expensive to buy tickets for. Nevada has a lot of pluses that draw people in, and it's not just the housing costs. They have some serious tax advantages. Nevada is known for having a very favorable tax climate. It does not impose a state income tax, which is really nice for retirees and people that make a lot of money. Additionally, Nevada has a relatively low property tax compared to a lot of other states in the area, and it doesn't tax your Social Security or pensions, making it even more popular to retirees. Speaking of retirees, there's all kinds of places that have high roller bingo games in case you're looking for it. Nevada's doing pretty good when it comes to jobs. The state in areas like Las Vegas and Reno have growing economies, especially in, obviously, the hospitality and gaming industry. In recent years, Nevada's also seen growth in other sectors like technology, manufacturing, and logistics. Tesla even has a giant gigafactory near Reno. Nevada, you wouldn't think has a lot to do outdoors, but they do. I mean, all the golf you need. They have Lake Mead, plenty of stuff to do up near Reno as far as skiing, and Lake Tahoe's right there. If you like shooting firearms, there's all kinds of different businesses out there that will take you out to the desert and let you fire some pretty heavy machinery. Between 2013 and 2023, Nevada grew by 12.68%. Currently, that gives them about 29.38 people per square mile, which I think is a little misleading because half the state belongs to the federal government, so nobody could live there. It's almost like it's not part of their state. If you literally took away the land that the federal government controls or manages in Nevada, it would be one of the smaller states. Number 4, North Dakota. I kind of like North Dakota. I think it's an interesting state. I think a lot of other people think that too. It's been growing in recent years. A lot of it had to do with all the oil fields and things like that. There's certain parts of North Dakota that just blew up for a couple of years, and then, the oil kind of slowed down and a lot of people left, but a lot of people stayed behind, and this is contributing to their growth. And their growth's been pretty good recently. There's a few different reasons people are moving to North Dakota. The first one is the job market. Not just any jobs, but good paying ones, especially in the energy sector. Thanks to the oil boom, the state has seen a surge in employment opportunities, making it an attractive spot for job seekers. The place is like a magnet for people that, want a new career and want to get started in a career. They have agriculture, but really a lot of the jobs are coming from energy and technology. The other reason people move there, it's affordable. It is a really affordable state to live in. Combined with well-paying jobs, it kind of pans out pretty good for most people. North Dakota is a very affordable state compared to a lot of other states in that area. South Dakota is far more expensive, along with Minnesota, Wisconsin, and pretty much all of Canada, which isn't a state. Don't leave the comment. I know. Now, North Dakota does get some pretty bad winters, so keep that in mind. It's the northern part of the country. It's right up there against the Canadian border, but it has great summers. Plenty of fishing, things to do outdoors. Might even catch the northern lights. Between 2013 and 2023, North Dakota grew by 13.31%. That is not bad. Hardly anyone lives here, though. They only have 11.75 people per square mile. Number 3, Texas. Texas, yeah, everyone knows this. Texas has been growing in population since probably the early 80s. I don't know, somewhere around the time JR got shot. That's when people really started focusing on Texas. Now, don't get me wrong, it always grew, but it seemed like it got supercharged around the late 80s. And why are they moving there? Well, a lot of it has to do with politics. That's one of the reasons people more recently have said they're moving to Texas, is to get away from the political climate of wherever they came from. Normally, it's California. Another reason they've had some serious growth is people from Louisiana have been flooding in there almost at the same rate as Californians. There's just a lot more Californians, so a lot more going in there. But they're coming for the affordability. Compared to other states, Texas offers a lower cost of living, especially when you consider housing costs. It's changing a little bit recently, but it's still a long way off from where people are coming from. California, New Jersey, New York. There's also no state income tax, which means a little extra cash in your pocket at the end of the day. They're also coming for the jobs. So many big corporations have moved to Texas over the last couple decades, and they bring a lot of their workers with them. I've mentioned this before on this channel, but where I grew up in Torrance, California, Toyota had their North American headquarters in Torrance, California. I don't know how many thousand employees, but it was a sprawling campus. They shut that thing down and moved to Plano, Texas, I want to say 2010-ish, somewhere around that area. Thousands of employees left with them. And of course, the other reason is the warm weather. People that want to escape those cold climates and they want a good economy head to Texas. Between 2013 and 2023, Texas grew by 13.36%. It's expected to stay about the same over the next decade. Currently, Texas has about 116.16 people per square mile. Number 2, Idaho. Idaho is sort of like Florida. We all know someone that's either talking about moving to Idaho or they did move to Idaho. I could tell you 10 people just off the top of my head without going to Facebook, that at least 10 names of people that have moved to Idaho over the last decade. For some reason, a lot of cops I know, when they retire, that's where they go, Idaho. And there's a lot to be said for moving to Idaho. It's relatively safe, it's still affordable, great outdoors, and potatoes. How could you go wrong? Think about it. Have you ever dreamt of living in a place where the state's vegetable holds the key to happiness? Idaho is your Garden of Eden if that's the case. In Idaho, potatoes aren't just food, they're a way of life. Want to express your love? Give a potato. Having a hard time with a rough decision? Consult a potato. Idaho offers an unparalleled opportunity to live in the carb capital of the United States, where every dish is just a potato away from perfection. Okay, so it's not that bad, but for the longest time, that's all anyone knew about Idaho. That's where they grew the potatoes. There used to be a great potato chip called Oh Boise. Idaho's another state that has a growing tech industry, and that's drawn a lot of people in. That's one of the first things they say is they got a job in Idaho. It's right behind, I could buy a piece of property for a quarter of the price I could in Los Angeles. Like Colorado and so many other states, nature plays a big part in why people are moving to Idaho. Idaho is essentially Mother Nature's playground, designed for those who find joy in accidentally wandering into a bear territory while looking for the perfect Instagram spot. It's like the only state you could ski, kayak, and mountain bike and have a close encounter with wildlife all before lunch. Who needs Disneyland, right? Idaho is a place that people have been going to for decades to kind of reinvent themselves, to start over. Back in the 70s and 80s, that's where a lot of people in the witness protection program were sent by like the FBI and stuff. But Idaho is growing, and Idaho will continue to grow for the next few decades, I'm sure. Between 2013 and 2023, Idaho grew by 14.34%. They have 23.24 people per square mile. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're looking to move to any one of these states or any state in the United States, there's a link for a website called Home and Money in the description area below. Click on that, take you to the website. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Utah. That's right, Utah's population is growing, and it has nothing to do with how many kids they have. Well, it has a little bit to do. What's really affecting the population growth in Utah is people moving from California, people moving from Colorado, and believe it or not, people moving from Indiana. It's quite a flood of them coming in from Indiana. Don't know why. Not sure what's driving it. I'm sure it has a lot to do with jobs. If you move to Utah and you're not into the outdoors, one of its best features will be lost on you. Utah is pretty much an outdoor enthusiast's dream. It has 5 national parks, affectionately dubbed the Mighty Five, plus numerous state parks, ski resorts, and outdoor recreational areas. There's no shortage of breathtaking landscapes to explore in Utah. Whether you're into hiking, skiing, mountain biking, or just soaking in some stunning natural beauty, Utah's there for you. They do have a booming economy right now. The state's economy is on fire, especially in tech. The area around Salt Lake City has become known as the Silicon Slope. Really, nobody actually calls it that unless they're a politician or someone in the news trying to be kind of funny. If they got 2 tech companies, all of a sudden they're the Silicon this or the Silicon that. I've heard the Silicon Desert. I've heard the Silicon Coast. It's not just tech, it's finance and education. This economic growth is bringing the people in. Just recently, the governor of Utah sent a letter to the governor of California demanding that he quit sending people to Utah like he has any control over it. One of the biggest problems they're having is a lot of jobs are leaving California. A lot of companies, a lot of tech companies are leaving California and they'll go to Utah. Well, they're bringing a lot of people with them. Can't have your cake and eat it too. This is how it works. Let's say a company has 4,000 employees. They leave California and they end up in Salt Lake City. They're going to bring some of their employees. It's an easier transition that way. They're not going to come, set up a warehouse, and then just open up the door for new hires. It's not how it works. It never will. On a low end, they'll bring half of their employees with them. So it's like these governors, like the one in Utah, applauds these companies moving into Utah, but then complains that they actually brought some people with them. Anyway, it's not just tech, it's also finance and education in the Salt Lake City area. Utah is a very friendly state. It's just the nature of the people. Utahns are known for their friendliness and their strong sense of community. Many people are drawn to the state for the family-friendly vibe, low crime rate, and overall quality of life. Now, Utah, especially Salt Lake City, has picked up some crime in recent years. It's trending down currently, but it got a little higher than they're used to back about 2 years ago. That didn't slow people down. They kept coming. Between 2013 and 2023, Utah gained 15.05% of their population. And right now they have 41.67 residents per square mile. All right, that's today's video. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.